almost done. She's perfect!
Wow! Another beautiful pumpkin. Perfect for me too.
Hello? You want me to review a game? I mean, it's been a while. How did you get this number? Census and Covens, designed by Samara Jethwa and David Walsh, and kindly provided by Good Games Publishing, is a one-against-many game that takes us back to the days of literal witch hunting. A brutal practice that targeted mostly vulnerable and helpless women in the name of paranoia and financial gain for the hunters. Wow, what a different world! Luckily today, we can just play fun little games about it, now that we're free from all that hate and violence towards especially women and minorities. Thank you for bringing me into such a beautiful world. Oh, I'm sorry, I've already done the whole sentient produce with a face thing. I can't do that again. Oh, but I'm already alive. What do you want me to do, just sit here in silence and pretend I don't exist? Preferably. But, nope. I can't just...
Stop!
Anyway, so I just don't think that's fair. As I was saying, now in our perfect violence-free world, it's fun to explore such foreign concepts, as the game sees one player play as the witch hunter, searching for witches in the towns, while all other players play as the towns themselves, working together to hide the witches amongst townsfolk, cover their tracks, and help them congregate. This is a tricky task, but luckily the witches in this game aren't the ones hunted in history. They're real witches, I mean, not real people. I'm not that detached from reality. I was talking to a pumpkin earlier. These are not the powerless, everyday people of the 17th century. These witches have magic they can use to help them evade capture, and honestly, look like they're thriving. You can't tell me she's not bumping Chapel Rowan on the daily, which is ironic, because she has like the most anti-witch name possible. A chapel's like a place of Christian worship, and rowan trees are traditionally thought to ward off evil magic and like witchcraft and stuff. It's a good joke, let me have this. So what's the problem? A team of 3 to 5 against one person, and they've got magic on their side? Seems like it spells victory to me. Wrong. Not necessarily, because for every card in your hand, every move that you make, every little bit of deliberation, you can't shake the feeling that you are constantly being watched. No, thank you. So how does that work in gameplay? So glad you asked. The game cycles through 4 phases, which will see the town players gaining cards, mixing them up like a witch's brew, and trying to get as few witches caught as possible. Let's go through them. Now, first is the Census, where town players immediately show off all their cards to the witch hunter. Oh, you thought you could keep your hand a secret? You dum-dum. You dumb little stupid little frog. Look at you hopping around like some dumb little stupid little frog. You don't, you show them, and this is a recurring feeling in this game. As much as you want to hide your witches, keep your information to yourself, the witch hunter's always on your tail, watching everything you do. Even your deliberation during this phase is out in the open. There is no escape. I also love the idea of this being a census, like they just get a survey and they fill out their occupation as witch. You can just lie, girl. Say you're an accountant or an OBGYN or something. They don't need to know. You dumb little stupid little frog. But apart from just revealing your information, this phase also shows where the witches have congregated, which can have special effects. One of which is winning the game. The most special of effect. Each witch has a suit, love, crystal, or nature, with one witch being wild and counting as any. The town's players win if they reveal a hand with 3 witches of the same suit, forming a coven where they can live happily ever after, brewing potions, cursing people, kissing each other. Sorry, my mind drifted off for a second there. Speaking of curses, the other benefit to congregating is those. There are 3 curses or charms, they flip when you use them, in play. If you have 2 witches matching the symbol on the spell, it will activate for this round. These can be incredibly beneficial to the town's players, allowing them to perform extra movements, do phases multiple times, and confuse the witch hunter by making them block their ears and groan. Which is an interesting one, for sure. census ends with the town's players deciding who will go first in the travel phase, giving them this adorable little witch's hat, which can also be used to turn your finger into a little witch if your heart is filled with whimsy and you have no friends. Oh my god, a loneliness joke? She's so back! Next phase is the arrival, where the witch hunter draws a card at a time, looking at it and giving it secretly to players clockwise. Suddenly the witch hunter knows even more information than the town's players, because they don't know what cards each other got, and that can completely change the plans you made during your deliberations. And now, there's no more talking, so you just have to decide on your own, based on the cards that you have, what to do in the next phase. Travel. This is where the card mixing begins. Starting with the player with the witch's hat, each town player must perform one of three actions. Give a card in their hand to another player face down, ask another player to choose and give them a card face down, or swap a card from their hand with the card hidden in the woods. Oh, there's a card that's hidden in the woods. It's just a card that sits on its own that the witch hunter also knows at the start. Of course they do. It can be a good place to hide a witch because the hunter can't get there. They're too scared. The whiny little baby little stupid little frog little freak. After all that movement, all that shuffling around, the hunter watching her every move, it's time for the hunt. Oh, come on. The witch hunter picks two cards from the town players one at a time. This is their moment to shine. They've been given all the information. They've seen all the moves the town's players have made, but can they piece it all together? Can they figure out what cards went where based on just their intuition and maybe a red face? No, not the color, the other kind of red. They just sound the same. I forget what that's called. What? No, this is just a regular phone. Gay people don't use different phones. If they pick a witch card, their hunt was successful. Congrats, a successful witch hunt. Now you can burn her at the stake, or I don't know, maybe fill her comment section with so much transphobia. So many comments about how you don't like her, how she doesn't make content specifically for you, unlike every other board gaming channel out there. And that makes you mad. So maybe you turn to Reddit, or maybe you DM her directly, just to tell her how much you don't like her. And in spite of a vast majority of people being very supportive of what she does, what she's always wanted to do on a channel that she loves dearly, she lets that worm into her brain somehow, and she develops such a bad relationship to the idea of everything that the very mention of it makes her cry. And she doesn't end up making anything else until a whole year later. But I don't know, it's just hypothetical. The witch then goes in front of the witch hunter, and once they've collected 5, they win the game. But during their hunt, there are cards they'll want to avoid. Townsfolk are just regular people. You didn't find a witch. Bad luck, buddy! Then there's the fake witch, where, you thought it was a good girl in a straw hat with her arms out in a cornfield? That's a scarecrow, you fool! One that does count as a witch somehow. You're really fudging your numbers. But if the hunter takes this card, before adding it to their collection, all witch cards they previously caught immediately escape. Back to square one. You hate to see it. Then there's the ritual card, which offers another way of winning for the town players. If the witch hunter finds 2 ritual cards, they'll immediately lose. And that's the game. It's so simple to get into the swing of things, moves so quickly, and is chaotic through and through. There's so much fun as the town's players in trying to strategize your moves, as you don't really have much you can do. The 3 options during the travel phase are fairly limited, and in that one move, you have to weigh up your options. Do you just try and hide your witches, maybe putting them in the woods or give them to a player with more useless cards to hide amongst? Or do you group your witches together, which may lead to unlocking incredibly valuable spells for the next round, or even your victory, but runs the risk of giving the hunter a higher probability of picking a witch from that player's hand? Or do you try and group the witches around a ritual card, luring the hunter to take a risk? It all depends on what cards you're dealt, what feels best in the moment, and whether or not you can all get on the same page. When in one turn, maybe you manage to cast a couple of really strong spells, and you take full advantage of it in the next round when you have more moves or the hunter's knowledge is limited. But even then, anything can happen. That's truly the defining feature of this game. If you're a pure strategy lover, if you feel like as the hunter you following every move with near perfection should guarantee you the win every time, run! Go now! This isn't for you! Save yourself! The strategizing and information gathering all lends itself to what is essentially a very luck-based game. Both teams can try their darndest to put themselves in the best position possible, but in the end, it'll all come down to chance. I can definitely see that turning people off. It can be so frustrating to be playing a great game strategically and just be unlucky. Maybe as the hunter you go to a hand with 3 cards, 2 of which are witches, and you grab the townsperson. Or the hunter has no idea where any cards have ended up and just lucks into picking the right cards and ultimately wins. These are entirely possible scenarios in this game. But for me, I just found it added such a thrilling sense of jeopardy to the hunt phase. You never feel like you're on solid ground. It's messy, it's chaos. You watch the hunter make their decision with a toad in your throat. If you invest yourself into that feeling, the possibility of an upset is exciting. Sure, it can be frustrating when the odds don't go your way in the moment, but that's drama, baby. That's cinema. I also just want to mention how much I love the art. It's absolutely gorgeous. And each card has its own illustration, which adds so much character to the game. Like, there's no practical difference between accidentally picking the donkey or the baker. They're both townspeople, but you feel the difference. The donkey weighs on you. The cards are also tarot-sized and have this gorgeous gold foiling, which is just so mwah. But these cards also have what some would consider to be the most terrifying thing of all. Diversity. Are you still there? I just didn't hear you laughing, so... Oh. Different ages, race, disability, gender. I mean, like half the witches are neurodivergent trans lesbians, I decided, headcanon. You can't tell me I'm wrong. A much nicer world of magic compared to the unfortunately prominent one made by an absolute bad person. I said bad person. You can feel the amount of love that went into it. Something I appreciate more and more as soulless, environment-destroying, built-on-theft generative AI images threaten to worm their way into our lives. The art is great. Samara Jethwa, you killed it. Ultimately, this is a gorgeous game that's incredibly easy to learn and quick as all hell. The box says 20 minutes, and I think that's perfect. It won't be for everyone, but if you're looking for a fun and chaotic way to start off a night with big dramatic beats and swings that'll change the game on a dime, this is a great option. I've had a lot of fun with it. It's a good lesson, really. You do everything you can to be on top of your game, but sometimes things just don't go to plan. The world is full of chaos, and do you let it get you down, or do you keep going? Keep doing the thing you know is right for you and don't let the bad consume you. Wait. Who am I talking to?
So that's the story of why I have to hold my microphone.
Wait, what?
My story, you just watched it.
Hold on a second. So you made the subplot of this video... Recreation, sure. As an excuse for why you hold your mic?
Excuse? Tom, I'm cursed. That's very insensitive.
Okay, well, at least it's the kind of video that's good to put out soon, you know? A certain spooky day coming up, eh?
November 1st, exactly.
What?
November 1st. We're putting it out on November 1st, and that was by choice. We were always aiming for that deadline. What other day could I have possibly been aiming for?
Emily, there was a jack-o'-lantern...